Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of The Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, AR the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, we're going to talk about the new Twisted Metal series and how this is the latest casualty of GLAAD's continued push for overrepresentation of folks in the LGBTQIA+, whatever the fuck you want to call it, community at this point. So basically, I was watching this show for the most part, and just going along. It's like episode 1's pretty good, episode 2 is pretty good, episode 3 is pretty good, and then we get to episode 4, and you basically have unnecessary lesbianism inserted into the show, where you had these two characters who were, well, the one was actually half decent looking, the other one was basically not very good looking at all. And it was them basically pushing, like, obviously they're together as like two gay chicks is what it would be. And that's the thing. Like, I've noticed this was a lot with Hollywood, and it's something that's gone back for about, I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago, give or take, is when the people at GLAAD basically said that in the coming years they wanted to have 50% representation in all Hollywood TV shows, movies, etc. And it's like, motherfuckers, you don't make up 50% of society. You make up like 1, maybe 2% of society at this point, at most. And yet, you want to have 50% of characters on TV being gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, etc. For what? For what reason? Unless you're trying to push agendas at that point. Unless you're trying to push the shit at children, teenagers, etc. Because that's the thing. Like, technically, Twisted Metal is an adult show. It is very adult themed. It is very gory, etc. There. Personally, if I had children, depending on their age range, I would not let them watch the show just because of what's being portrayed in it. Like, there's a lot of stuff that you like that is like mediocre in the first couple episodes or whatever, but then there's other stuff. Like the one episode where you got Sweet Tooth literally walking around, and you have him going into some facility and just killing a bunch of people is what it is. And it's like insane, really, is what it is. And I'm just like, like, obviously you wouldn't want children to see that stuff. And then meanwhile, on the opposite side of stuff, you have like these characters just like, being talked about like, oh yeah, they were in a relationship, blah, 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 blah. Like, at least, like, here's the thing. At least it wasn't like The Last of Us kind of gay. Interesting. I'm supposedly roboting really bad right now. I don't know about that. Let me jump over to the thing here and see about that. Hang on. I'm going to put my headphones on real quick and I will see if I'm roboting, or it might be on other people's end, maybe. No, it's 100% on your end, man. Yeah, we're fine on this end. Yeah, I don't know. Reset. That's what I would say, because I just checked and it was fine over here. So anyway, but yeah, so basically going back to what I was saying, the representation of representation stuff is what it is. So you have people who are pushing things for no reason other than to, shove an agenda down people's throats. It's just like the same thing I mentioned, what was it, like a few months back now, when MTV started doing that Wolfpack series. By the way, I still have not finished that series at all, and I refuse to actually watch the rest of it because it really wasn't that great to begin with. And the thing with that was, it was like episode 1, like 20 minutes into episode 1, you have characters being introduced in that show, and all of a sudden, you have this dude at a club about to get sucked off by some other dude, and it's like, what the fuck does that have to do with a show about werewolves? Oh yeah, that's right, nothing. And that's the entire point. And it's kind of like the same thing here in this the Twisted Metal episode there, you had it basically be shoehorned in, inserted in there, for no other reason than just to like fucking have it there. And that's the problem in general when people don't know how to write, or they try to write in characters that have no business being in a show, is what it is. And it's basically a thing where it's just like, well, we got to write them in somewhere, and it's like, oh, just shoehorn them in here or whatever. Then that'd be the case, and then it makes no sense because you're just like, what the fuck, man? Like, what does this have to do with anything else there? And the real problem with a lot of it is, in many cases, it stops the flow of the show, is what it is, because you have like this smooth flowing series, the smooth transitioning series, or whatever the case be, and then all of a sudden it just like abruptly stops, and it's just like, oh, okay, here's a bunch of gay shit for no reason at all. And the fucked up part is, just to make sure that people don't try to sit here and try to claim things, this comes from somebody, myself, who is bisexual. So don't even try to get it twisted like that, motherfuckers. And that's the problem, though. Like, even I'm fucking sick of it, dude. Because it doesn't need to be in every single thing, is what it is. You need to have, like, that's the thing. It would be one thing if it was like, a show here or a show there of like one or two shows within like 100 series or something like that. That would make sense, right? Because that would be technical representation at that point of roughly what they're representing of society would be, of how many people actually identify under the various, LGBTQ monikers and stuff like that. And the thing is, though, when you're pushing it in every single show, every single movie, except for a handful here and there, it gets old real fucking quick. And you wonder why people start tuning out, and you wonder why your ratings go to shit, and you wonder why you're seeing people going back and watching old series now. Hell, I was on, I forget what this channel is now. It's like Catchy Comedy or something like that. Is one of the channels that we get on our like basic cable thing here. And yeah, it's like every night they have different things for, it's like Taxi and Cheers. You have Mama's Family on there in the afternoons. You got Laverne and Shirley on there. Like all these old series from like the 60s, 70s, 80s, etc. when I was, growing up in the 80s and stuff. And it's great, man, because you can go back there and you don't have to be, force-fed agendas and stuff like that. You can just watch an old series like that. And it was actual comedy back then. It wasn't all this crap now. It wasn't all this fucking fake-ass comedy that they're all like, oh, look, women can be funny. It's like, they can be, but the ones that you're pushing aren't. And that's the whole entire point of the matter. It's like the Amy Schumer types of the world. It's like, yeah, you're not funny, lady. Like, fuck off. Seriously. That fucking train wreck movie was one of the biggest pieces of shit ever made, honestly, dude. For real. And so was a bunch of other crap like that she was in. And then really the only reason she has a claim to fame is because she's fucking Chuck Schumer's niece. So, anyway. The entire point of the matter is, it's a bunch of shit, dude. Like, you can basically have a series without having it be, like, just adding in crap into it is what it is. And it's just like, and on the same thing, honestly, on that one, too, as well. Like, within this Twisted Metal series, I think it was, like, episode 1 as well, on top of that. You had some motherfucker at some settlement in a dog mask, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Does this have to do with anything again? And that being said, like, I could see if it being, like, a post-apocalyptic kind of, like, hellscape or whatever the case be. That would be the one time in history where I could understand actually having somebody in a fucking dog mask, because of the fact that you would have, them basically being your slave, essentially, is what it would be, or like some servant to you or whatever. And of course, you're like trying to degrade them and dehumanize them, is what it is. And so, what better than to put them in like a gimp suit that has like a dog mask on it and stuff like that? And that's the whole entire point, though. But again, that would be like the one time in history that actually makes sense, not, everyday stuff to have that stuff, have those people go out and fucking do pride parades and stuff like that and make it as if children should be around that kind of shit, is what it is. So yeah, it's just ridiculous in general, and it just really infuriates the hell out of me, honestly. Just overall, man, because it's like, you're just trying, like, seriously, I threw on that Twisted Metal show because I liked the games that inspired it. I played the games as a kid, which, by the way, the show itself has nothing really to do with the games at all. And it's more or less just like this dude's backstory, which is interesting because, as far as I'm aware, the first season ends in a way where they're basically setting up a second season right now that would be more inclined to the game and like a tournament style thing is what it is. But the entire point of the matter is, it's like, yeah, you have like an overall decent or semi decent storyline there, but then you also have like other stuff pushed in there. Like there was another part of that show that very much was infuriating to me, and it was basically, it was also like sort of an anti-gun push in some way, shape, and form, because you had, I forget which episode it was there, because it was in the first 6 though. I think it was like 5 or 6, one of the two, and it was basically you had uh the main lead chick and her brother who were living in some like weird part of California, whatever the case be, where they were essentially like indentured servants, is what it was, along with a bunch of other people. And then for her and he to get out of that, like orange groves where they were picking oranges and stuff like that, it was basically to put themselves under contract to people for 4 years, where she would essentially become a maid for some family or whatever, and he would become like a food service person or whatever then. And as it turned out, the 4 year contracts were bullshit the entire time. And what was interesting was the manager guy of some like basically McDonald's ripoff place or whatever was like, "Oh, there's a mass shooter on the loose very close to us, but it's okay because we're going to give you free fries and stuff like that." And as it turned out, the quote unquote mass shooter in that situation was one of the disgruntled people who was being fucked over and had done their 4 years and stuff and weren't getting shit and were just basically being told, "Oh, you're just under permanent like slavery basically at that point, indentured servitude and stuff." And what's interesting to me is that you had all these like clearly white liberal people who were all fucking nuts in the head and stuff like that, and were literally chopping people's fucking fingers and ears and shit off to make necklaces and stuff like that out of them. And it's like, God damn, y'all are fucked in the head, man. But yeah, basically portrayed like, you know, these white folks as just like sort of psychotic is what it was. But the fun fact about it was also that they were obviously like hardcore like Democrat / liberal people is what it was. And then they were like, "Oh, let's hope that the basically kill squad gets here to kill these people now." That the chick was going on the shooting spree is what it was. And actually, come to think of it, that's what most mass shootings are these days. It's actually shooting sprees. It's not really mass shootings here in America. I kept forgetting what the actual terminology was, but that's what it used to be called all the time. It used to be like a shooting spree or whatever. So anyway, but and now it's just called, you know, a mass shooting or mass casualty event or something like that. So anyway, even though most shooting sprees are gang violence and stuff. So anyway, but yeah, so you basically had these people that were all like these hardcore like lefty types and stuff like that, where it was essentially like they were all scared to leave an area, yet meanwhile we're relying on some government entity to come out there and save their asses from a person on the loose that was a quote unquote crazed gunman. So yeah, very interesting in general. And in some ways, I do think, honestly, from at least the episodes I watched of this show so far, there is kind of like a weird cucking of white people in the show as well. And by that, I mean, like, it seems like every white character in the show is basically like lesser than, if you will, where it's like, oh, you don't have the balls to take the shot or whatever kind of thing, and like stuff like that is what it is. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just seeing shit there. But like thinking back on it now from what I watched today, like it legitimately was something like that, where it was essentially like every white character was either like Sweet Tooth, I think is technically white in the show, and he's basically insane. And then you had all the other characters that are just like really cucky, like Beta and stuff like that. Or it's like they can't do anything for themselves, or it's just like some weirdo doing some weird shit or whatever. And yeah, like there's like no like or even in that same vein of things, Nev Campbell is in the series, and her entire character is just basically this liar, where she's just kind of like a psycho that leads this settlement that's known as New San Francisco, which is kind of funny because if you looked at the way that they portrayed that in the first episode of the show, uh, it was basically this gated wall community and stuff like that. That was real nice inside, and then literally right outside the wall, there was a bunch of homeless people with their shopping carts full of different things and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, that's exactly what San Francisco is nowadays, dude. The only difference is that you would have like a walled off version of it for your liberal elites, like your Pelosi's and stuff like that, is what it would be. So it's just kind of funny that way. But yeah, overall, I feel like there is definitely a push in Hollywood for sure when it comes to overrepresentation of uh, the whole gay community in general. And I think people are finally waking up to it and they're all getting sick of it. I know I am, for that matter. And it's something that needs to be called out on a regular basis, honestly, because that's the only way it stops is, you know, people call it out and we're like, yeah, we're not going to watch this shit. We're going to boycott this shit because of this, is what it is. And like I said, the difference here with Twisted Metal was it's not like it went into like a whole like episode where it was like just these two females or whatever that were together. It was basically, yeah, it was just like a few minutes here, a few minutes there during the episode or whatever the case. But even still, it's like, should there really be that dedication to random characters like that bring next to nothing to the actual overall story arc of the show, which the obviously overall story arc is about this dude trying to make a run and then eventually get citizenship into that, you know, selective area there of New San Francisco. And I feel like that's the problem right now is they are distracting away with that overall arc for no reason at all, is what it really is. And it's the same kind of thing like with The Last of Us. You had a show there about basically some like crazy zombie plant infection thing that zombifies people, and yet you spend an entire episode about two dudes getting it on basically for like a 10 or 20 year time span, whatever it is there. Whereas meanwhile, you could have had like a better overall episode there and not been pushing an agenda. And seriously, like the big difference there, obviously, with Last of Us was compared to Twisted Metal. Twisted Metal didn't go into like any kind of like sexual stuff, is what it was with that couple. But Last of Us did, and they went like way too fucking far, dude. Like you're talking about like actively damn near showing some dude getting blown. And it's like, dude, what the fuck? And mind you, this is a game. This is based on a game that kids played, that teenagers played, and they're obviously gonna watch the show too, man. And then you got characters like basically being like, "Oh yeah, if you don't like this shit, don't watch." And then it's like there was an entire another episode there where it was that Bella Ramsey girl who was the lead in The Last of Us, who the whole episode was about her and her little gay friend basically being gay together. And it's like, again, what the fuck does this have to do with the overall story arc of people trying to survive and a chick trying to be used as the cure to the fucking infection? Oh yeah, that's right, nothing. And that's the problem right now. So it's like so infuriating, dude. Because it's like you just like seriously, for me personally, I just want to watch a fucking show and be entertained. I don't want to watch a show and have a bunch of indoctrination bullshit shoved down my fucking throat left and right. And I sure as shit don't want to watch a show that potentially, you know, my younger family members would also be watching, that having them watch that show and being even more indoctrinated by it because they're younger than I am, because they are kids or teenagers or whatever the case be, and they're more inclined to basically go down that road. Like, enough is enough, man. It really is. And that's the problem right now. It's time to really just boycott Hollywood entirely and just go back to a sane nation again. You know, the Bud Light boycott worked, honestly, dude. They've lost like billions of dollars right now. You got a bunch of other dumb motherfuckers trying to do the same thing now. And it's like, yeah, it's time to just boycott these companies, boycott these, you know, woke ass America nations or woke ass corporations in America is what it is. And drive these fuckers into bankruptcy, dude, for real. And then from that, you will have the phoenix rising from the ashes, and you will have something better spring up out of that then. And we will be better off as a society after the fact, dude. And that's the thing. You can look back at any culture throughout history, throughout literally human history in this world, and every single one of these places fell right as they were going full Sodom and Gomorrah. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the full Sodom and Gomorrah, degradation, desensitization, fucking, transitioning of children, hormone blocking kids, sterilizing kids, pushes for abortion on demand and without consequence everywhere, the overrepresentation of gay characters in film, TV, etc. And it's all too much sometimes, dude. It really is. Like, it's like enough is enough, Like, just make a good series again and have people watch it, It doesn't have to be a bunch of gay characters, it doesn't have to be a bunch of lesbian characters, transgender, whatever the case be. It could just be a show about people, man. Okay, so one of them happens to be gay or whatever the case be, so what? Like, that doesn't have to be the focus of the fucking entire show, though, is the whole point I'm trying to make there. And I feel like that's the problem. They made that way too much in these shows like that, dude. So, other than that, though, from what I've seen in Twisted Metal, that was pretty good, though. I don't know if I don't think I'd give it like a 10 out of 10 or whatever the case, but it was definitely watchable. I would definitely watch another season from what I've seen in the first 6 episodes so far. And yeah, I look forward to potentially having another season of the show. I forget what the guy's name is that plays the lead, Anthony Mackie. I think that's who it is, the guy that played Falcon in Marvel films and stuff like that. He was pretty good in this, I think. The lead actress, actually, the Latino chick, I don't know who this girl is. I don't know if she did anything before this, though, but dude, she was really fucking good in this show. Legitimately, it's just like a kind of a nobody actress, is what it is. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens to her potentially in the second season and stuff like that. And like I said, overall, I think the show is pretty good for the most part. It just happens to be that one fucking caveat that doesn't need to be in there, dude, which is all the gay agenda shit. So, and who's to say what the fucking endgame on that is, dude? It could be as a way to just, make us lesser at this point, make us more of a beta culture and stuff like that, so we're not as alpha as we need to be. And that way we're more inclined to not fight back when tyranny actually comes knocking at our doors and stuff. So, anyway. I'm going to go finish the rest of Twisted Metal, actually. I'll do a full review on the channel here at some point in the future. Probably in the next couple days is what it'll be then. And then we'll do some other stuff. I'm going to also do some gaming stuff here in a little bit, and I'm probably going to go to... Well, I'm debating if I really want to watch Twisted Metal entirely the rest of the episodes, because I got like 4 left right now. Because it would be like 2 more hours versus like just... I'm pretty fucking tired already. I might just go back to sleep for a while after like the next half hour or so after I do some game stuff. So anyway, I don't know. Only time will tell. I'm debating right now what I want to do, how I want to do it. So anyway, like I said though, it's just infuriating at the end of the day, where you're just trying to get entertained by a show, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, nope, can't be entertained now. Just got to push some other bullshit in your face. It's like, no, fuck you, Hollywood. Seriously. Anyway, that being said, though, that particular episode, that episode 4 there, that truck convoy that they had where it could actually like come together as like a bigger like thing and make like doors and shit, that was fucking badass, by the way. Honestly, I would love to have the technology to do that stuff, because that'd be fucking sweet as hell, dude. Where you just have like the actual tractor trailers there, be able to like swoop down and stuff like that and come together and like form like a bridge more or less. That'd be fucking cool as hell. So anyway, and there was some pretty cool shit like that in there, obviously. And then of course you had like various, explosions and a lot of gunplay from the vehicles, because they're obviously outfitted with firearms on them and stuff like that. So very much, I don't know if I'd say pro 2A per se, but it was definitely pro gun. And yeah, I gotta say, man, for Hollywood talking about not using guns and stuff a lot lately, like, there was a fuck ton of guns used in this show, dude. And like even in that episode with the tractor trailers and stuff like that, there was like an entire section of the one trailer where you just had, it was almost like a little like open air market kind of place almost there, and you had legitimately, it was just like a big old wall full of various handguns, revolvers, and some automatics both. And then there was like some small stuff like a mini Draco or something on there, I think is what it was. And then you had a whole bunch of long guns just like set with like a barrel or something like that that were unidentifiable. I think it was like various shotguns and stuff like that. And then you had some like actual like rifles and like more like scope sniper rifles is what it was there. And then a couple like ARs, AKs, and stuff like that there. So yeah, it was very. There was a lot of fucking like I don't know who the armorer was for this show, but damn, dude, like they went to that vault there in California, and were like, give us all the things for this series, basically. And they just took out everything that they needed, is what it was there for like various display stuff and whatnot. And what's interesting though is that the one thing I thought was really interesting about the series is that pretty much everybody seems to be using revolvers as their main weapon in this whole entire thing for like a sidearm and stuff. Which to me, I get that obviously from the perspective of, you know, it would be easier obviously to reload a revolver and um just carry like a pocket full of like ammunition is what it is. But at the same time, it's like the thing is about that is though you only have like 6 or 8 shots depending on the cylinder there, and it's like 6, 7, 8 shots, something like that, versus a semi-automatic where it would be Glock, Beretta, whatever the case be, which those are in there too as well for like the cops, it seems like, in the show, or the people that are trying to be like law enforcement or whatever. And they actually I think they were the only ones that actually use semi-automatics in that, now I'm thinking about it, so far anywhere that I've seen in that first 6 episodes. So yeah, very interesting on that. And the thing of that was too as well, it's like you would think you'd want a semi-automatic firearm because it's like, yeah, you hold more rounds, all you would need is like a couple mags and stuff like that, and you're good to go. Now, granted, that being said, if you're in that kind of like grid down world or whatever the case be, maybe you would want a revolver actually, because it would be a lot less maintenance and stuff like that versus semi-automatics. Obviously you'd have the mags, potentially the springs would break in them eventually or something like that would happen maybe or something, and you would have like feeding issues and shit. But the thing of it is though, it's like, I don't know, it's hard to say, man. Either way, like I would think honestly in that kind of a world though, like you would still have 9mm being like more of a common use round than 357 Magnum or 38 Special for that matter, because even today's standards, 9 mil, because it being a NATO round, actually is more in supply than something like a 357 or a 38 Special or something, or even a 44 Magnum for that matter, or 44 Special. Like those 4 calibers specifically are not made as much as 9 mil is, because 9 mil is used by pretty much every single military in the world right now, especially the U.S. military, and for our sidearms and stuff like that. And then on top of that, obviously, it's in civilian use like crazy as well on top of that. So, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to me. But either way, that's pretty much it for the day, though. Just figured I'd come on here and bitch about this for a little while. This is only going to be like a 10 or 15-minute episode, and then, of course, it just became a half hour now. So, it is what it is. Like I said, though, I'll be back at some point later. I don't know if it'll be tomorrow or Sunday. It might not be till Monday even. I'm gonna try to maybe take the rest of the weekend off unless something like huge comes up or whatever. Then like we all got some like crazy shit going on or something that's like pro 2A related, or some anti 2A shit being shoved down our throats again or whatever. But yeah, other than that, like that's pretty much it for the day. I'll be back on Sunday night on Honda's chat for the Gay Frog chat there on his channel, which as far as I'm aware, we're still doing on YouTube. And then I don't know if we'll do like a small section on Rumble only or something like that, like the half hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is there. Because I know he mentioned something like that the other day about possibly doing that again, of just doing like, X amount on YouTube and then doing like the last hour or something on, like the last 45 minutes to an hour or so on a Rumble only chat or whatever the case be, so we can start talking about like real stuff that we can't talk about here on YouTube that, you know, would otherwise get us channel strikes and shit. So anyway, which is kind of fucked up, honestly. You have to go to a different platform just to speak your mind and speak the truth of what's really going on in this country. So anyway, yeah, that's about it though. Like I said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a great night, and remember to always be carrying in this country, because you never know when you're going to need it, and the day that you need it is going to be the day you don't have it. And it's as simple as that. Never let a government disarm you, because they will go full tyrant on you if they have that chance. Never allow them to win. Fight tyranny every day as if it was your last, because in some cases it just might be. Have a good one.